All right, now that we know how to graph an inequality, we are going to look at solving a system of linear inequalities. And a system is like the system of equations. A system of inequalities is just where you have two or more inequalities in the system, and your solutions are the solutions that will work for both inequalities in the system. So what we do is we want to graph the two inequalities. Okay, if I were to graph the top one here, okay, that's in slope-intercept form, so I'm going to use my b value, my y-intercept, to start at -2, and then the slope of that is 1. I'm going to rise and run. Now I go back to the inequality, and it's just a greater than, so that's going to be a broken line. Now, when I decide which direction I'm going to have to shade on the top of that or the bottom of that. Now, I don't want to shade yet, but I want to decide where I'm going to shade. So you can see that 0, 0 is not part of that broken line. So I can plug the point 0, 0 into that inequality. It would say 0 is greater than 0 minus 2. 0 is greater than -2. Well, because that's a true statement, okay, that's true, I want to shade the side that has 0, 0. Now, I'm not going to shade yet. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple little marks here. I'm going to say I'm going to shade on that side. I'm going to shade above that broken line. Okay, now I'm going to go graph the second line here. Okay, so the second line has a b value of +1, the point there, and it has a slope of -1. So that slope is -1 over 1. That means I'm going to go down 1 and over 1. Okay, again, when you look at that now, if I go back to the inequality, it's a less than or equal to sign, so that's going to be a solid line. And I have to decide whether I'm going to shade above that solid line or below that solid line. So again, I could choose 0, 0. If I put 0, 0 into the bottom equation, I'd have 0 is less than or equal to a -0 plus 1. Well, a -0 is still 0. 0 is less than or equal to 1. That's a true statement also. So that means that I would be shading on this bottom portion of that line, because that's where 0, 0 is at in reference to the solid line. So now, to shade, we're only shading the portion that makes both inequalities true. So we have to be above the broken line. Okay, remember the arrows I put here have to be above that broken line, and I have to be below the solid line. So the piece that gets shaded for both of them is just that section. Okay, let's do example number 2 here. Go back to red for my lines. Okay, I've got a b value here of +1, and the slope is -2 over 1. So I'm going to go down 2 and right 1. Okay, that's a greater than or equal to, so this is going to be a solid line. Okay, 0, 0 is not on that line, so I could use it. It's below. So if I put 0, 0 in here, I would have 0 greater than or equal to a -2 times 0 is going to be 0. Is 0 greater than or equal to 1? 0 is not greater than or equal to 1, so I don't want to be on this side. I want to shade. That means I'm going to have to shade on this side of the line. Okay, if I graph that second line, that bottom one, I'm going to start at +2, and I have a slope of 1. So I rise 1 and run 1. Okay, this is just a greater than symbol, so it's going to be a broken line. Okay, if I put 0, 0 into that, I would have 0 is greater than 0 plus 2. 0 is greater than 2. Okay, that's false. 0 is not greater than 2. So for that broken line, I don't want to be down here. I want to be up there. Okay, I don't want 0, 0 shaded because that made it false. So now we go back and we're going to shade the portion that makes both true. So we have to be to the right of the solid line and we have to be above the broken line. That would be just this portion up here. Okay, I'll let you do the next 2 there on your own if you want. If you get 3 lines in your system, that's okay. You just have to graph 3 lines. So when I graph this top one, it says x's, just x by itself. We'll think about if it just said x equals 1. That's a vertical line. So I'm going to go to where x, on the x-axis, I have a +1. It's just a greater than, so it's going to be a broken line. And if x's are greater, greater would be to the right of that line. So I'm going to shade on that side. Okay, to graph the second line there, that's in slope-intercept form, so I'm going to start at -3. And I'm going to use a slope of 2 over 1. So I'm going to rise 2 and run 1. Okay, that's also going to be a broken line. Okay, if I put 0, 0 into that, 0 is less than 0 minus 3, 0 is less than -3. That is false. 0 is not less than -3. So on this broken line, I don't want 0, 0 shaded. I'm going to shade the other side of that. And then my last line here is y. Y is equal to x, that's going to go through 0 and have a slope of 1. Okay, that's going to be a broken line. Okay, and I can't use 0, 0 on that because the broken line goes through 0, 0. So let's try, if I went -2, +2 up here. If I put in the point -2, +2 to this bottom equation, I'd have 2 is greater than -2, which that's true, so I want to shade above that line. Okay, so now you got to put all this together, and we're shading to the right of the vertical line here. We're shading below this and above that. That's this piece right here. Okay, so the more lines you get, you're just going to have to put them all on the same graph, and again, you're only shading the piece that makes all of them true. Okay? And then lastly, you're going to have to decide what your system looks like, so you're going to have to find the different individual equations. Okay, so I'm just going to do one of these for you. I'm going to do B here. Okay, I've got this broken line right here goes through 0, so that means that you have a B value of 0 for that one. And the slope, you're going up 2 and left 1, up 2 and left 1. That would be a -2. So I would say y, and then you've got -2x, and then there's no b value, it's 0. And so you have to decide what inequality you're going to put in there. You can't use the point 0, 0, but I'm going to use the point 1, 1. If I put 1, 1 into that, I'd have 1 and -2 times 1, 1 and -2. Well, this would be greater than. 1 is greater than -2, so that would be the inequality that would go in there. Okay, and it's a broken line, so it's just a greater than. Okay, the blue line down here, it's going through a -2. And its slope, I'm rising 1 and I'm running 2. So I would say y, I'd have a 1/2 x minus 2. That one I can put 0, 0 into, so 0, 1/2 times 0 minus 2. That would be 0 minus 2. So again, 0 is greater than -2, so I put a greater than. This is a solid line, so we would want to put the equal part to that. Okay, and then those two inequalities would be my system. Okay, if you have questions on that, feel free to join the Zoom meeting, and we'll talk about that. Otherwise, you've got a worksheet that you can work on.